I'm Makini Smith. In 2009, while going through a divorce, I decided to jump straight into entrepreneurship. In 2012, I lost my sister and asked myself, what legacy do I want to leave behind? Since then, I've become a serial entrepreneur, helping other women publish their books, produce their podcasts, and reach their big goals to walk in their greatness. I realized the importance of sharing our stories of resilience and how it can be another's guide to walk in a manner worthy of their calling. We are blessed to be a blessing, so get ready to be blessed with an inspiring testimony. Hey, Legacy Leavers. Thank you for joining us on the Walk In My Stilettos podcast, the top 1.5% most popular show globally, where we have conversations with extraordinary women that are letting us step into their shoes. I help women own their voices to create impact, prosperity, and legacy. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but I'm more interested in her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. So today, I'm actually sharing an episode of Amplify, the Revolution Her podcast, where I was interviewed by host Maria Locker and Grace Morse. So Amplify is a bi-weekly podcast that shines a light on inspiring women who are making their mark and living life on their own terms. Each episode brings insight to help inspire and empower you to amplify your own voice every damn day. Now, on the Amplify podcast, this episode is titled Positive Mindset, Positive Life. I would love to hear how this episode impacts you. I want you to head over to my personal Instagram at @TheRealMakiniSmith and let me know what resonated with you, what your aha moment was, what you learned. If you had anything to add, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let's jump right in.
I'm Maria Locker, founder and CEO of Revolution Her.
And I'm your co-host, Grace Morse, founding partner of Revolution Her. And today we're talking about positive mindset, positive life with the all-inspiring Makini Smith.
Now, if you've never connected with Makini before, she is a mindset coach and Procter Gallagher certified consultant, helping turn goals into accomplishments. She's the founder of Legacy Leavers Media, helping women entrepreneurs self-publish with the same tools and resources as traditional publishers without the need for their validation or approval. Makini is also a 4-time published author and host of the 5-star rated A Walk In My Stilettos podcast, one of the top 1.5% most popular podcasts globally. By coaching women who are frustrated, confused, or isolated, she helps them find peace, clarity, and connection. Whether it's through conquering social media, publishing a book, or mastering a podcast, her passion is to help you find the confidence to turn your dreams into a reality. We love this woman. Please help us welcome Makini Smith.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I am honored to be on any part of the Revolution Her platform. So thank you both, Maria and Grace, for having me.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. And you have this calming influence. I am so excited about today's podcast. Mm-hmm. I love your posts on social media, your walks in nature. Oh, I'm so ready for this. So ready.
Well, and that's, we chose this theme because we knew this would be perfect to chat with you. So the idea of positive mindset, positive life, we're going to really just go out and start with a bang. A little while back, we proudly featured you on a panel discussion about resiliency. And something you said that day really stuck with us. You said, pain isn't optional, but suffering is. Pain isn't optional, but suffering is. Definitely hits quite a chord. Would love to know if we can start by asking you what began your journey to finding a positive mindset throughout life's challenges and traumas.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I guess let's start with the quote itself. I mean, life happens, right? We can't avoid pain. It's a part of life. But I think that our perspective of it and what we choose to do with it determines whether or not we suffer. The pain comes and we can choose to sit in the pain and live in this low vibrational headspace of sorrow and, victim mindset, or we can allow that to strengthen us. We can allow it to, give us wisdom from the life lessons that come with it, and use it to our benefit, so that we don't have to suffer. So in terms of like, I guess where I decided to flip my mindset, I feel like that happened after a series of trauma in my life. A lot of us have experienced, childhood traumas and relationship traumas and things like that. But it was like, I went through a divorce in 2009, and my sister, who was like my best friend, passed away in 2012. And I was already struggling with being a single mom and a full-time entrepreneur and, toxic relationships and digging up childhood wounds and all these things. And I could have allowed myself to suffer and stay in that headspace, but I wouldn't have lasted very long. I probably wouldn't be here today if I did. And when I looked at, after my sister passed, all the messages from people that had reached out about how she had touched them, and it made me look at the positive qualities and attributes that I admired about her. And I thought to myself, well, regardless of what she was going through, she was still able to support someone else or make someone else feel loved, or, be of service or pray for someone. And I just started to emulate some of those qualities and realized the small changes in my life started to transform how I felt about life itself. And me being more intentional and purposeful in not just my actions, but also my thoughts shifted how I viewed the world. And, it's not always rainbows and sunshine, but I have learned that even in the storms, it's just like the weather storm we had here the other day where, it knocks out power and we're unable to have communication and trees are falling over and all these things happen. But at the same time, there are positive shifts that happen within that. So it's being able to take a step back and look at, regardless of what's going on, there's good in all things and there's bad in all things. And it's really about what we choose to take from it or how we choose to view it.
Wow. I like that. And I like how it's not always rainbows and sunshine. And sometimes no. And I guess it's changing that perspective in terms of the way that you look at things or looking at it from a different perspective. It can be really hard. It can be really challenging. And actually, there's this popular quote that says that if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're both right.
Yeah.
So for someone to look in to make those small changes that you talked about, and drawing turning them into strengths, what are some of the things that people can do or tips to change that mindset in small ways to make those first steps to help them along the way?
And I do believe that a lot of the power is in the small steps. I think sometimes we look at, transformations and assume that we have to make these huge, massive leaps all the time, especially in my industry in personal development, where a lot of coaches are teaching, the toxic positivity and, the expectation of these drastic changes that our brain actually can't compute for long periods of time. So the small steps for me, it's one, taking a look at your life and looking at, let's say we're looking at one scenario in your life that you don't like how it's going, that you don't like the present outcome. Looking at that small scenario and writing it out in detail and looking at the non-productive things within that scenario that you can control, that you are actually doing, and then flipping it to what would be the productive action that you could take to change that. It could be the smallest thing, right? And then when you start to do those things repeatedly, it's the compound interest of those things that cause that huge transformation. Like if we were to change one thing in our life every 2 weeks. So let's just say this week you choose to wake up 30 minutes earlier because, it's not working out in your favor to press snooze for 30 minutes every day. You wake up 30 minutes earlier every day for the next 2 weeks. And then that'll slowly become a habit. You go on autopilot. So that one small action, changing that non-productive action to a productive one, can completely transform how the rest of your day turns out. You're no longer tired. You're no longer groggy. You're no longer, running and trying to do things last minute and being flustered. That can change your life. So we don't look at the small things that we do that can make a huge difference.
Oh, I love that. I love how you mentioned that it's things you can control. That's one of my things this year is focusing on the things that you can control, because there are so many things out of our control for that. It's focusing on what I love that. I think that's really important. Sorry.
No, this is good.
Here. Yeah.
It's true though, right? So many of us kind of get lost in the fact when we don't have control. I think a lot of women are very focused on, organizing so many things in their life. When they don't have control, things go haywire. So it's a really great point that you made. And I'm curious actually, because, obviously we mentioned you have published 4 books and they, are all incredible. We were really proud to feature A Walk In My Stilettos in our magazine as a book review, because it is such a powerful book. And I'm curious which, some of these tips, do you want to share some of the tips you share in the book? And then also, because there's a lot of women listening who would love to self-publish. What do you wish you knew before writing your books about self-publishing?
Oh boy. Okay. So, So in terms of my first book, I was really just wanting to share my story and the lessons that I learned through my struggles. And my hopes was to change the life of one woman. And thank God it's done way more than that. But there's lessons in there for everyone, whether you're a woman or not, because I've had many men that have given feedback that the book has helped them through their divorce or it helped them through grieving the loss of a loved one or what have you. So it's almost like I took my life and I broke it into different chapters and said, well, here's what I learned from a toxic relationship, or here's what I learned from losing a loved one, or here's what I learned from, becoming a single parent, or here's what I learned from, becoming an entrepreneur. So each chapter, there's different lessons to help someone get through their adversity.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. It is really good.
Yeah. Thank you. In terms of self-publishing, what do I wish that I knew beforehand? So interesting enough, my first publishing deal was with a big name publisher, which I will not name. And, in signing that contract, I didn't know any better. I just agreed because I also had a friend that was publishing with them and recommended my due diligence. And after submitting my first draft, I quickly realized that I do not want to align with this brand. Let's just say, as much tragedy that was in my story and the positivity of the lessons that were within it, after the first edit came back, the advice that I got was, yeah, you've had a rough life, but so what?
Wow.
And that, I could have let that devastate me and could have let that say, you know what, my book is not good enough. My story is not good enough. I'm just not going to go through with this. But I realized at that time that I was not aligned with the right person to put my story out there. And I decided to breach my contract and lost thousands and thousands of dollars. And I signed with another small publishing company. I guess they call them like a hybrid publishing company. And after my book launch, realized that I did not want to be aligned with that company.
Oh, wow.
And in order for me to get out of that contract, I was advised to basically alter a book. So alter the book. So I wrote a completely new chapter to add to the book, and I changed the cover, which legally that makes it a completely different book. Okay. So I had to learn the self-publishing route because I had 2 negative experiences with publishers. And in learning that route, I realized there is so much about the publishing world that people don't know. One, it is a lot easier to publish than people assume. And there's a huge population out there, people that want to publish a book, but they feel overwhelmed by the information that's on the internet. and all of the, companies that are out there, quote unquote, I'm going to say, taking advantage of people who don't know any better.
Yeah.
And in learning the process, it was, yes, frustrating, but at the same time, it allowed me the wisdom and the tools to be able to help others. So for years, I was behind the scenes, just helping other people publish their books without making a business out of it. Wow. And I eventually partnered with a celebrity ghostwriter who had other editors and authors that needed my help. And she was like, you need to be charging people for this.
Yeah.
So I started charging people, and then again, still didn't want to make it a business because I thought, I just want to help. But I realized last year, especially throughout the pandemic, with the amount of people that were coming to me for advice about self-publishing, that I could be that brand that helped people to publish their books. I'm going to say ethically, and also in a way that they still maintain full control and they were happy with what they put out into the world, especially if it involved their story, because oftentimes when you're telling your story, that's something that's intimate and important to you, and you don't want someone who's in a place of power and wants control to alter how your story is put out there, how it's told, and change your narrative. So it's important for me to allow women to maintain that ownership. So even though they're self-publishing and I'm guiding them, they still own everything. It's all theirs. I don't take anything after that. It's just helping them through the process.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much of an aspiration it was for so many people to write a book. Like there's a lot of people out there, and there are so many incredible stories from women and men and everybody in between. That there's so many great stories out there that need to be told, and
absolutely
self-publishing a book is a great way.
I love that you're helping people do that. Love it.
Yeah. It is so overwhelming, even just the process of writing the book. Like, do you offer them advice in terms of how to actually get started, or do they come to you when they've written the book? Like where does that process begin with you?
Once I decided to launch Legacy Leavers Media in January is when it actually launched. So the process started beforehand, but I do now have a whole team that can help from start to finish. Okay. So typically people used to come to me once the book was written, but by that point they've started their research on, what they want to do for next steps. So to give them the guidance that they need in terms of even writing the book and making sure that it's written from a viewpoint where it's for the reader, because some people are writing just, for themselves to make it easier for the reader to read. We have book coaches, writing coaches on the team. We have editors on the team, whoever they need. So I always advise them to do a complimentary discovery call at any point in the process so that I can give them next steps before they even start working with us, so they know where to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm going to say it here just because I always say, I probably should do my book. I should write a book one day. So I'm just going to say it on this podcast. So by the time we get you back on here.
So here's how I'm going to hold you accountable now, Maria.
Okay. How?
As your friend.
Yes.
So my advice to you is the same way that you're doing this podcast. You can just plan out how you want, your book to be, or each chapter, what you want to talk about. Go to something like Google Docs and use the voice function. And you can basically record each chapter audio and then have it transcribed.
Okay. You just gave everybody listening like an amazing starter pack to writing your book. That was amazing. Yeah. Look at that bonus material.
Yeah, I know.
See, I
love it.
You got me thinking now, what could I write one about? I don't really want to write a book. Now, you're also a mum to 3 great teens as well. And those teenage years could be really hard on some kids as they're discovering who they are. What advice do you have that you can help, that we can help kids to develop their mindset, and how, as an adult, we can guide them?
Yes. So my children are giant adults. They're all bigger than me.
I know, I was going to say that. They're all taller than you in all the pictures.
They're all bigger than me.
You said that. Giant adults.
My youngest is 16, and my middle child is turning 21, and my eldest is 24.
You look so amazing. Like, I know nobody can see you right now, but go check out Makini's Instagram. Like, she looks incredible, and she has 3 teenagers. Oh my gosh,
adults.
We're just entering that landscape. Our sons are both going to be 16 this year, and already I feel like I've aged about 10 years.
They're not listening. They don't know. They know.
It's definitely interesting. 3 complete different personalities in this household. But I think if there's any advice that I can give for a parent is to understand that your children are not you. They're not an extension of you. Absolutely. I mean, yes, they may have your qualities amplified, in each of your children, but I don't try to live my life through my kids. Yeah. I realize that they are 3 individual people with 3 individual personalities, and I allow them to be who they are. I think a lot of parents try to, whether it's out of fear or protection or control or whatever it is, they try to, I think I'm trying to use a softer word here, but they basically try to control their children.
Yeah.
And we can barely control ourselves. So why do we feel that we can control other human beings? They were brought onto this earth with their own purpose. So I allow my kids to authentically be who they are. And I know that there's a lot of parents that may not agree with my parenting style, but having a coaching business where I deal with a lot of women that are now over the age of 35 that are struggling because they were, for the majority of their life, doing what their parents wanted them to do, and they don't know how to do what they want to do and to truly be happy. Instead of having to reverse that later on in life. I do that now, and I honor their authentic selves. So
it's so hard. I see sorry, I'm just going to share my own experiences. If that's
Go ahead.
But I see my daughter in terms of her mindset, and I guess it's just taught in the schools. I didn't have this growing up in the schools, but she's so positive and so she has a great mindset. I'm really proud of that. And I think a lot of it, it's come from us, but also a lot of work in the schools, talking about how strong she is, how, putting together vision boards and things like that. It's great. I sometimes my son, I worry that he doesn't see his full potential. I don't know. As a parent, how do you support them? It's that.
So
without being too controlling, sorry to jump over you. But
No, go ahead. What I've done with my children is I see a huge amount of creativity in each one of them, although they're very different. So whatever they're interested in, I try to feed that. I try to encourage that and allow them. And then if they decide, I don't want to do this anymore, which happens often, then at least they've tried something. So them being able to explore gives them more options in terms of what they may want to do later, instead of them just assuming that they're not good at something or that, they don't like something because they haven't tried it. Like my eldest, I remember strongly not wanting her to become a tattoo artist because I used to see my tattoo artist ride his bike into work. So I just assumed he didn't make much money. It's just, he had a substance abuse problem, so his money went that way. But my daughter, when she started to show me her real interest in the tattooing world, it started with her just drawing pictures for other tattoo artists to put on people. Yeah. And when she started seeing her art permanently on people's skin, she got really excited. And I was actually in Paris when she started her apprenticeship at a tattoo shop. And I came back and she's like, I got an apprenticeship at a tattoo shop. And at first I was not pleased, but then I realized, for everything else that she's been interested in, I've helped feed that. So, now she's the head tattoo artist in the shop, and, there's people flying in from other places in the world to have her tattoo them. And it's just allowing them to be who they are. We can give them the tools, we can give them the encouragement, but we can't control them.
Yeah. it goes back to what you can control, doesn't it? What are the things that you can control? It all comes back to that.
It does. Yes. Yeah. We may have to change the title for today. Positive mindset, positive life. P.S. No controlling. Love it.
No, it's call it how to let go of control. There you go.
Right? Yeah, that's much easier. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, somehow we're close to wrapping things up, which is just bizarre to me because we could have probably stayed on here for hours with you. But I do want to talk a little bit about your podcast. Okay. We mentioned it a bit in your bio, A Walk In My Stilettos. Mm-hmm. You are, my friend, in the top 1.5% most popular podcast globally. We're just going to take a second and congratulate you because
thank you.
This is hard work. Like I got to say,
it is.
We're newbies. This is hard work.
We love it, but it's not,
It's a labor of love. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So anyone who's listening, please go check out Makinis Podcast. You can find it on all the regular channels, A Walk In My Stilettos. Obviously, we're huge fans. So we'd love to know why a podcast for you? Because you've gone the author route. Mm-hmm. You've kind of done so many great mediums, but what is it about the podcast? How did that whole journey start for you?
So interesting enough, a lot of people that had read my book and read my story had reached out after I wrote the book. And I started to realize how important our stories were and realizing the similarities where it was like my DMs, even if it's a simple post on Instagram, my DMs get flooded with other women that can relate to exactly what I posted. So I could talk about an autoimmune, or I could talk about a toxic relationship. I could talk about my anxiety, and my DMs get flooded with other women that I could totally relate and they want to share their story. Mm-hmm. So I realized that our stories are, way more alike than they are different. And my community kept asking me for a YouTube channel. And a lot of people don't know this unless they really pay attention when I talk about it, but I'm extremely introverted. I am like severely shy. And I was like, I don't want to be on video regularly. I can't handle that. My anxiety would go through the roof. I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder and everything. So I was like, so I thought if I do a podcast, I could have other women share their stories. I wouldn't be on video. I would be doing less talking because I'm focused on them. And that was where it started. That's where the idea started. And the show took on a life of its own after the first few episodes. And
amazing.
The feedback, every time I get feedback, I get emotional because we are very much more alike than we are different. And the more that I see the show ranking in certain countries, I'm like, how the heck did they even find the show? But realizing as women, our stories are so much the same.
Yeah.
So after 2 years of doing the podcast, I thought, you know what, I'm tired. I don't know who's really listening. I wasn't really paying attention to my stats at the time. And I took a break. And before I started re-recording, I thought, is this worth it? Do people really want this? Am I making an impact with this? Does this matter? And when I started doing the research, that's when I discovered at that time that I was in the top 2%. And I thought, how is that possible? And at the time, I think the numbers were there was just over 2 million active podcasts. We're now at 2.8 million plus active podcasts globally out there. So for me, for someone who's extremely introverted and shy and doesn't come out of her house much, to be in the top 1.5% globally blows my mind.
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
But I have to say, it's a testament to how you run your ship, because Grace and I were talking to Makini off air just before we pressed record here. But really, truly, you inspired us to take this up again and try this. We had tried it 9 years ago before it was even cool. And just couldn't be consistent. And there, I was honored to be on your podcast. And I remember calling Grace right away and I was like, oh my gosh, he is so organized. And so I could have talked about stuff that I've not told anybody. You just got me so comfortable. And it is a true testament to what you do. And
thank you.
It's amazing. So congrats.
Yeah, yeah, you have a great format. We are big fans. So well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm obsessed with Jay Shetty's podcast On Purpose.
Yes.
And he studies a lot of spirituality and science, and, talks a lot about just mindfulness. And I'm so obsessed with it and the mind. And I'm very influenced by Jay Shetty, so I can't take all the credit.
Okay, well, we'll check out Jay Shetty, but we're here for you. So
yeah, we'll always be cheering you on. Don't worry.
100%.
I appreciate that. Likewise.
I know. Like Maria said, there really is. Like, it's so easy to talk to you, and I guess that's why your guests are. Your podcast is so popular in terms of you have this ease about you, and you make people feel at ease around you. Now, what is next for you?
Wow. What is next? So I was supposed to have 2 books come out this year, both collaborations.
Wow.
And both projects were paused. And at first I thought that was like, I'm going to say a bad thing, but I actually recently spoke on a panel about procrastination, and they asked me about positive procrastination. And I think there's sometimes things that are labeled as procrastination that are actually us prioritizing or taking a step back so that we can add new ideas and make things even better than we planned. So both books are still coming out.
Love it.
And one of them is a partnership with another Procter Gallagher consultant. She was one of Bob's top 1% consultants. And her and I have partnered for a few things, and I'm excited for that book to come out. And I want to say who the forward is going to be written by, but I don't want to overexcite myself.
Okay, we'll just wait and be super excited when we see it.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that to happen. I have an adult coloring book coming out.
Nice.
I had to switch illustrators, which is why that was pushed back. But just being able to provide more tools for women to walk in their greatness.
That's amazing. Well, and right now you can find Makini in our magazine. So our latest issue with Mina Harris, we've got a wonderful piece on Makini. You give such great advice in that. So we're really, really excited to feature you in there.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is our fun part. We've dived into all the really deep stuff, and there are a couple deep questions here, but really this is to close off. We just have a couple fun questions for you. You can go as long or as short as you want. And my first question for you is, what would your theme song be?
Anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with her, the artist. And I think in my head, the song that I play on repeat for like the last how many months is her song Damaged. I don't know why.
I'm writing that down.
That would be my theme song.
I'm going to check that one out too.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Next one. What does self-care look like for you?
I am totally team self-care. And I think the pandemic has allowed me to implement a very strong self-care routine, and I break it down into mind, body, and soul.
Oh, so, I like
that. Because I feel like sometimes we focus on one area and not another.
Yeah.
So we may focus on spirituality and not our physical health. And, so with the mind, body, and soul, my daily self-care routine. So for the mind, I make sure that I read every single day, whether it be 10 pages a day or 20 minutes a day, I read. And thankfully, because of that routine, I think I read 21 books last year.
Wow.
And before then, I couldn't even read one book a year. So, and then I love to listen to soothing music that makes me feel good. It sets the mood. So hence all of her music to me is just soothing. Also for the mind, spending time alone to eliminate distractions. I guess as an introvert, I already naturally need time alone. But being able to eliminate all the outside distractions of other people's opinions or thoughts or ideas helps clear my mind. For the body, I'm always sipping on fluids throughout the day, whether it be my water, my smoothies. I make sure that we try to get in at least 1 gallon of water a day.
Nice.
And I am no longer, that person as an entrepreneur that works 24/7. So I need my 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. My Fitbit says if I don't get 7 hours and 20 minutes, I'm not a nice person.
Oh, I can't function if I don't sleep anymore. Like it now dictates my life. Like sleep is my number one priority.
It's essential.
Yeah.
It's essential. Like I don't care who says you can sleep when you die or you only need a couple hours. No, I personally need 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night.
Me too. And if I don't, I'm just a blubbering mess at someone. I'll burst into tears at any moment. Yeah.
And then I also, for the body, I need to stay physically active. So a couple of years ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, someone got me a Fitbit for my birthday. So I do like 6 to 10,000 steps a day minimum, but just staying active, any form of activity. So they say healthy motion equals healthy emotion. So
I like that. Healthy emotion
equals healthy emotion.
Emotion, like that.
Yeah. Our emotions are energy in motion. So being physically active also helps me to not stay depressed.
Yeah.
And then for the soul, prayer, meditation. Prayer is my conversation, me talking to God. Meditation is me being still and listening. And then gratitude and affirmations, which is why I have my gratitude and affirmations books. Mm-hmm. And then having a community of healthy connections that feeds my soul, that allows me to feel like I'm seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah, I love it. And I think you're so right when at the beginning of this, you were talking about how the pandemic I think it's made a lot of us go back and look and evaluate how important it is to make sure that we have self-care in our schedules. So,
and those are all manageable things, you know, what you just mentioned. You're not breaking the bank. You're not, spending thousands of dollars at a spa. Those are all things that we can work on.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing those.
And it's mindset too. It's funny actually, because we got a dog. Well, we've had our dog for a while now, but I remember after the first 6 months having to take it out constantly, I was like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I don't have time to, why is it always me that's going to walk this dog? And I was pulling my hair out and always complaining. And someone said to me, but look, this is your time away from everybody else in nature. And since then, perspective mindset, I'm like, my gosh, this is now my time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you're moving, you're out, you're getting fresh air, you're getting vitamin D, being out in the sun, you're in nature, you're grounding.
I love it now.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, my turn.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
Okay. Where is your favorite place in the world to be?
Right now, I'm going to see on a nature walk with my partner.
I like that.
Yeah. He knows how important my nature walks are to me and being physically active. And, he enjoys walking too. He just didn't realize that walking in nature is so much better. So
I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do too.
I love that. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My question. What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. I'm going to say I have a really strong sweet tooth. And I think in the last few years, as we get older, especially after you hit 40, your body changes. And, I realize I can no longer have gluten or dairy or any of those things. But my guilty pleasure is having desserts with ice cream on top.
That's allowed. Yeah. We all need that.
It could be a funnel cake with ice cream. It could be a crepe with ice cream. It could be waffle with ice cream. I don't know, but it's my guilty pleasure at least once a month.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I think, and it's so funny. Sometimes we ask that question, sweet or salty. And I like my salty stuff too, but I'm 100% on that sweet train. I actually have chocolate sitting here waiting for me after we're done. I literally pulled it out. All right. Here's your last one. What is your word of the year?
Peace.
Oh, we all need that.
My word of the year is peace. Last year it was resilience. This year it is peace. My priority is peace. I will not do anything that jeopardizes my peace. I don't care if it's speaking to a family member, taking on a client. I'm not doing it. Peace is my priority right now. I think culturally, we've been conditioned to go after, accolades and approval and awards and success and all these things. And naturally, I think that I value more freedom and love and connection and peace. And I think that this year, as I've been on my healing journey and prioritizing my self-care and setting healthy boundaries, that you cannot buy the level of peace that I get to experience sometimes. So peace is my word.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful.
I love that.
What a way to close. Thank you so much. Honestly, this was such a wonderful conversation. People just need to be like in your circle. Like you just need to be around Makini because, you give and you also are just so wonderful. You are.
And you add
wonderful.
Such an amazing energy, a calming energy. I know I keep mentioning it.
It might be the self-care routine.
Yeah.
See, we're going to have to start doing that.
Yeah, it's so important. And I think it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of that you're not ambitious, or it's just balance, isn't it? And giving yourself that space to grow and dream and move on and accomplish so much more rather than go. Sorry.
Oh,
love it.
We all get to that age where it's like, really, guys? No, we're good. You're at the age, I think we're all at the age now where it's like, we know what we need.
Yeah.
It's time we start vocalizing. And if people aren't going to help us with what we need, we have a responsibility to do it ourselves. So
absolutely.
I love that you shared so many great tips for us to make sure we do that. So we will do that. You're doing it, and everyone listening will hopefully do it. If you've been listening and you've been inspired by Makini's words, her tips here today, obviously go follow her on social. We'll make sure your handles are everywhere for people to find. Go find her at A Walk In My Stilettos and The Real Makini Smith. And honestly, please share as much as you can. Feel free to rate us. Our goal here with Revolution Her is to support as many women as we can. And Makini is one of those women that continues to inspire us. So please feel free to share this. And until next time, we can't wait to have you back here to have more meaningful conversations with women that we admire. Thank you so much, Makini.